Hi, everybody. I hope you're all doing very well. It's a brand new year, and I am going to talk to you about Pluto. It's been highly requested, and what I'm going to do today to keep it short, because if I talk about the planet Pluto, it could go on for hours and hours. So I'm going to try to limit it to about 30 minutes maximum. And what we're going to discuss today is the energy of the planet and exactly how long it takes to rotate around the whole around the whole chart, and how long it stays in each sign approximately. So let's start with the Pluto planet was discovered at the time around the atomic bomb. Before that, and they needed telescopes. It was not one of the planets that you could see with the naked eye. So it's considered a non-traditional planet. It's a new modern planet. I like to use Pluto because I have a lot of Pluto in my chart, and that's why I resonate with it. So, if you were going to pick one word, it would be transformation. But now I'm going to add some more words. So, in other words, something is one thing at one point and becomes something else. A nice example is the caterpillar and the butterfly. So that's an irreversible change. You cannot make the caterpillar that became the butterfly go back to being a caterpillar. It's also a transformation of one state of being to another. Going into motherhood from not being a mother. You could never go back. It's sort of also like the virgin, once you're not a virgin, you're not a virgin. That kind of thing. So Pluto has always gotten a bad rap, but really, transformations can be really powerful, intense, but they also could be beneficial. A lot of people think it's Pluto, it's going to mean death, it's going to be bad news, and I don't want to talk about it. But that's not the way the planet works. The energy. So if I could get you to understand the energy of the planet, I will be doing my job. So when we look at a chart, because that's what I do, I look at an astrological chart. And if I'm looking at a natal astrological chart, which is the chart of the moment that you were born, so that's frozen in time, and it's a snapshot of the sky or the celestial bodies the moment that you were born. And then we look at that planet Pluto to see, where is this major transformation going to be going on? What kind of an energy is it going to have? And we look at the elements and the modalities to describe that. Is it going to be something that's initiated, or is it something that's going to be managing, or is it something that's going to be distributing? So that's what we go into, all that kind of detail. And I am very thorough when I do my consultations, because I feel we don't want to leave anything out, because then you're only getting one part of the story. So it would be like me reading one paragraph of a book and saying, there it is, but then you miss out on the rest of the book. So, and it is a big book. There's a lot to say. It's a language. Remember, astrology is a language, and Pluto is one of the components of the language of astrology. It's just an energy. So remember when the bomb was dropped, the atomic bomb was dropped there in Japan, Nagasaki to be exact. What happened was, it was horrible. People died. There's your death. It will never go back to what it was. there was a lot of loss, a lot of destruction. It happened quickly, but it was very premeditated as well. So it was because Pluto's a slow moving energy, like an earthquake type of a thing. It's like plates of earth moving. It's not real quick. However, the cleanup isn't quick at all either. So it's very disruptive. I like to use the word disruptive. So what happened now, if we look at Japan, it's a leading country, state of the art. They've got a great economy. They're doing very well versus the way they were before. And I'm not an advocate of bombs or violence. I don't even have a gun, but and not, I'm not judging it. If just for me personally, I'd rather just use my woo-woo, and but I mean, I've considered weapons because I have strong Pluto and some Mars in my chart, but I hold off. So, but I know a lot of people that have them and they know how to use them. So not me go into a tangent. But so Pluto rules the sign of Scorpio. And Scorpio used to be ruled by Mars, which has to do with weapons. But now they kicked it up a notch, and Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. So let me read you some information from my notes. It takes Pluto to go around the whole chart of a person 284 years. And it approximately stays in a sign or a house, depending on how big the house is, but it goes through about 30 degrees of a chart between 12 to 15 years. So when the planet goes around from its start all the way back to where it started, it would take 284 years. So unless you live to be 284 years, you will not witness a Saturn return. That is what they call, a Pluto return. A Pluto return. That would be you are a completely different person. There's been a tremendous transformation. So while we're talking about that, this country, the United States of America, is going to have a Pluto return shortly. And I'm going to do a video just on that, but I have a lot of notes that I'm preparing for this particular event. And we're feeling it now. And when it becomes exact at that moment, we may get another intensity, and we'll keep feeling it, in my opinion, for another probably year. So we're feeling the change. It's a major transformation. As you could see, our country has changed a lot. COVID helped to make that change, but the planets don't look at how the change occurs, whether it's a virus, although you can say, yes, the virus was coming. Pluto's also considered to represent a virus. But what I'm saying is our world in the United States is changing, but it's an irreversible change. So how that's going to pan out, I don't know. I am not one of these, my ego's not big enough to say, and this is going to happen, and that's going to happen, and I'm absolutely sure it's going to happen. All I know is that we have the transformational energy. I'm very mindful of projecting, suggestions, because then we have the power of suggestion. We could make stuff happen. So I don't want to put out there any doom and gloom. So, as to what's going to happen with this country. And everything always works out, by the way. You know, look at Japan. Japan is right now doing very well. So now let's look at the metal it represents, and it's called bismuth. And another thing that we have to look at is it has to do with a disruption of your routine. Some key words are power, death, rebirth, a total rebirth, a total change, irreversible change, a mutation, control, dominance, forcefulness, ruthlessness, courage, risk-taking, sexuality, passion, emotional intensity, crisis, life and death experiences, obstacles. It's a time to rebuild or renew. It's also the underground, because that Pluto energy, somehow the energy goes underground. It's hidden. It's where the sewers are. It's where the creepy crawly things are. The rats, the, cockroaches, all that stuff that people don't like to talk about. It's also wealth, major wealth, and it's financial investments. It is the ruling planet of the natural house, the 8th house, that has to do with other people's resources and finances. It's also inheritances, insurances. So Pluto also has to do with the 8th house. So that trilogy or that combination that have the similar energy is Scorpio, 8th house, which is a section of the chart, a circle divided into 12. It's number 8 on the section. That and so Pluto, Scorpio, and the 8th house all go together. They have similar vibrations and energy. So it's also, because it's hidden, if it's underground, it's secrets. If you know any Scorpio sun people, Scorpio moon people, they're very secretive. They don't want people knowing their business. And you might want to say, well, what's a big deal if you're traveling on such a date? No, they just want to keep it to themselves. It's also political power and influence. And when we say going underneath the surface, Pluto also gets to the root of the matter. It also has to do with psychology, and a lot of psychologists choose the profession of psychology because they have strong natal Pluto in their chart, or when they decided they had a strong Pluto coming to a strong point in their chart, the sun and the moon or the ascendant, so they would, make that decision. So another thing too about these planets and the themes. So we're talking about the Pluto, Scorpio, 8th house theme. They echo throughout the chart. So you get the message, and it's always repeated and repeated. And just as you know, as I told you, Pluto's always moving around the astrological chart. 284 years it takes. However, it's a very, very slow moving planet. So it's gradual. The effects are gradual and long term, and they're generational. So we have a whole population of people that were born with Pluto in Scorpio. And they're a certain age group, probably in their 30s and stuff. So that's a whole generation that has the same configuration of Pluto in Scorpio. What's different is the place that it is in the chart, like which house it's in, and also the angles that it makes to other planets. And that's what makes everybody unique. These astrological charts are fingerprints, and they're very unique to each and every one of you. And also, for the record, I believe that you choose your chart because you want to learn certain lessons. So if you're just studying astrology and you see, oh, squares are no good, it's hard work, and I'm going to have all these obstacles and stumbling blocks and all this stuff going on, that sounds negative. Well, what that means is you came to this earth plane to do a lot of things and you want to grow a lot. So, and it could even be karma if you believe in karma, previous lives and stuff like that. So when I do my readings, I always ask, how do you feel about these topics that I just went over? And then we proceed with the reading. So even though Pluto is not going to have a return per se, it will have angles, different geometric angles that will affect you on a regular basis. So it's always a cycle. These planets go in a cycle at their own time, in their own orbit. And that's important to understand. It's constantly in motion right now. The real life planets are in constant motion. But your astrology chart stays the same. Your natal astrology chart stays the same because we compare the planets that are moving around now for forecasting to your chart, your natal chart, which stays still, doesn't move. And then we do readings or consultations based on that information. So it's always something to learn in astrology. I've been studying astrology for 50 years. I can't get enough of it. And I've got some old books over here. I like to look at the old books because sometimes they tell you, they say stuff back in the 30s and the 1800s that kind of describe the energy the way it related to time back then. And it kind of broadens my perspective too. But it's different that now because we have a different world. We're in 2022. You believe that? And I can't even believe how old I am. But here we are. Thank God I'm in pretty good shape. And that is a blessing. So back to Pluto. Pluto also rules surgeons. Why? Not only psychologists, because they get to the root of the issues, but surgeons, they go deep and under. So they cut and they go inside to either do an exploration or to take something out that doesn't belong. So I didn't want to go and be a surgeon, but I did work in pathology for a long time as I was studying astrology. I never wanted to do astrology. I was fearful of the ramifications of being in this type of profession. But I always help people discreetly because remember, I have a strong Pluto, so it was always a big secret. But at my age, the older you get, the more you don't care. And that was a personal decision that I made, and I'm so glad I did. I helped so many people on such a deep, deep level. And that's also very Pluto. So if you want to see where you have depth, where you're not superficial, where you're very passionate, and you may be obsessive, look for the planet Pluto and see what it will tell you. I think I've covered everything. It's also, ESP and all that mysterious stuff. Anything mysterious has to do with Pluto. And they say it's one of the most profound energies in the zodiac. I have to agree with these authors. It's traumatic. This Pluto energy can be traumatic. But, if we live through it, we learn from it and we grow from it. It's the attitude that determines the altitude. If you're going to sit there and be the victim, which is not Pluto, that could be on the downside of Neptune. But we don't want to be victims. It's not very becoming. So it's also very psychological. It's getting our needs met as well, and our deep desires, I believe it's, that's that. And I'm going to check a couple more pages and make sure. It's metamorphosis. We talked about that. Some people say it's hell. That could be the negative side of it, the underworld. So, it's like when I came back from overseas, getting ready for that transformational retreat, my place over here, the pipe busted. And when the pipe busted, water went everywhere. So I came back only to find that it was a big mess. The insurance, got involved. All my stuff was all over the place. Not much of it got damaged though, but the structure was damaged. And it took a long, long time to put things together. It was so disruptive. They had to take everything that was salvageable out, which was most of my things. And it happened in the middle of the condo over here. However, it was like moving out and moving back in. And then I stayed at the oceanfront. Beautiful view, was great, in a nice hotel for 3 months. So for some reason this year, and remember Scorpio, which Pluto rules, is a water sign. So I was oceanfront, waterfront for 6 months last year in 2021. And I'm not sure what it meant. If it was karmic, I think it was like I deserved a break. So I'm a pretty positive person. But Pluto is a wonderful planet. We can't get away with it. Can't get away from it. It's, it stays 30 years in a sign. It has to do also with scandals and big money. Of course, I said that. And it could represent government control. So on my next video that I do with Pluto in it, I'm going to try to look at the United States Pluto return. And I believe with that energy, which is coming very soon, and then Pluto leaving the sign of Capricorn, which is government, big business, structure, and everything else, moving into the sign of Aquarius, which is humanitarian. It's more intellectual. It's very futuristic energy. That is where we're going, the whole planet. But let's see how that's going to play out with us too in the United States. If you have any questions, keep them coming in. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe so you get, and hit that little bell so you get the notifications. Go ahead and share this video to anyone that is studying astrology or wants a different outlook. I am more of a humanistic astrology, holistic. I look at the whole picture. So have a great evening or morning or afternoon, and be positive. Everything is always going to work out. And I thank you for your time.